Did you see
Cool.
the Photoshop generative AI?
I did. I watched that video that you sent along, and up until that point, I was having the impression that, Adobe was kind of throwing some stuff out there to be able to just get in the game, but it felt like it wasn't really ready because when I actually looked at the use cases of people actually using it, it was like, yeah, it doesn't really work that well. But then when that guy from the video that you linked to showed it, I was like, okay, this is it's really more of a matter of time, and how well things get built out because the it's coming, this image generation is coming for sure. And it's pretty wild to question reality this deeply. What is it that we're actually like looking at? When AI is like just generating, AI seems to be generating reality.
Yeah,
At,
yeah,
at least in the way that we interpret it through our screens.
yeah. And you've got to think that the Photoshop generative AI, that's just the beta version of it. And it's
Mhm.
already in, you can just upload an image and put a blank boundary around it and just tell it,
Yeah.
fill in that boundary. Or you can select a part of the screen and just say, put a car here or put a sign here. And it's
Hmm.
unbelievably good already. Like I saw a few videos of graphic designers using Photoshop generative AI, and they started crying because they knew that it was better.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. It's already better at Photoshop than 95% of graphic designers. Like it's this is why I think the biggest
They
risk
started
we're gonna face.
crying?
Yeah, they started crying because they've spent 15 years, 20 years learning this core skill, and this machine is better than them at what they do within a year. It's crushing for them.
Hmm. So what? Right. Okay. So that's an interesting little wrinkle in it. Um, so where are the tears coming from? Like, what's the thing that's bringing the emotional response? The fact that is it because they feel like they're not valued? Is that where the emotion is coming from, or where
Yeah, I
where do you
think
think the emotion is coming from in that?
I think it could be coming from, well, first of all, I think that most graphic designers think that graphic design is a very human thing, that you need to be a human being to be able to do it. But I think that one of the main reasons is that they can see that AI is going to completely replace their job. Like, I wouldn't hire a graphic designer now to Photoshop anything for me. I can get Photoshop itself to do it and just use the AI. So,
Mm.
like, I think it's just crushing for people. And I'm seeing it across the board in every job. Like IBM just announced that they're 30% of their current job listings, they're taking off the market because they're going to fully automate them with AI. And tons of companies are coming out and saying, yep, we're going to replace 30, 40, 50% of our jobs with AI. And they're not going to rehire those people. Like, so AI is already way better than most people at their jobs. And this is just the start. So over the next
Hmm.
5, 10 years, we're going to see mass unemployment. And I think
Hmm.
that's the biggest short-term risk of AI. Like we've got the risk of deep fakes, like AI and weapons, like social media AI. But I think the biggest short-term risk is mass unemployment because I don't think people are going to be able to keep up with it. Most people.
But so that's going to push into a new dimension. So like there's a horizon that we're seeing. AI is pushing into this horizon, and because nobody's there, nobody knows what that landscape looks like. But once we get into that next place, there's going to be plenty of work to do. Because it's just the nature of being a finite being in an infinite reality, right? So as you push further into infinite possibilities, there's just more and more and more and more. There's more of what it is that we don't know, but it is there. But there's less of what we did know,
Yes.
in the past. So the jobs are oriented towards what we did know,
Yeah.
But the productivity and the projects of the future are coming out of what we don't know yet, but it is there. So and then people will adapt to figuring things out and being productive in problem solving into this new frontier. But you just have to let go of what you're holding on to before and then reach for something new that's coming into existence, or it's manifesting now. And that transition is going to be weird because, yeah, it's like a
Yeah.
let go and grab on. And we haven't grabbed on to what's coming next, but we're letting go of what we had. And so that in between limbo space is scary, but it'll be fine because people will connect to the new reality that's coming.
That's where I'm more pessimistic, because I think
Okay.
most people who are adults today will not adapt. It's such a new unknown world that they're not going to be able to adapt to it. But I think the next generation will. So there's probably like a 10-year-old kid right now who's using like 50 different AI tools, and he's combining them in
Mhm.
different ways, and he's going to be able to adapt to that new world of the unknown. But some 40, 45-year-old who's spent their whole career as a graphic designer, I don't think they're going to be able to adapt, and their jobs are going to get
Well,
replaced faster than they'll be able to adapt. That's why I think we're going to see mass unemployment. Like, I think you're being too optimistic that people are just
well,
going
but
to
but
naturally
here's the
adapt.
thing: AI is adapting to humans, right? So AI is speaking the language of humanese. So it doesn't. It The thing that makes this different is that you don't have to know the tech. You just have to know how to talk, and you just have to know what you want. It's like, I
Exactly.
have
Yeah.
a problem or I have a curiosity. You speak into, the machine, and then it says, how can I help? And you say, well, I want to do, I want to, I have a family reunion coming up, and I want to, my grandma, right? My grandma says, I want to organize a family reunion, and it's going to be on July 4th, and I need to create a postcard, and I need to send it out to all of my family on Facebook. Can you do that? And then AI goes, yes, here's what I'm going to do. And then grandma says, okay, do this, okay, yes, do it, or don't do it, or maybe modify it or whatever. But the thing is, the AI's adapting to how normal people think who don't know anything about tech. So I think it is a little bit different in the sense that the technological revolutions of the past meant that you had to learn a new skill set, but this technological revolution means that you don't have to learn a new skill set. You just have to be who it is that you are, but clearly define what you want.
Yeah, but
And so that's a
I agree with you.
fundamentally different thing.
I agree with you, and I think that's why AI is one of the most democratizing technologies, because you can just use human speech and tell it what you want and it will do it. But the problem
Yeah.
is, now that we have that, I don't have to hire someone to do anything. I can do it all myself. So what's going to happen in the job market? Like your grandma might have like hired a party planner before. She doesn't need to anymore. Like if I need someone to do some Photoshop work and graphic design, a few years ago I had to hire someone to do that. Now I can just tell the AI what to do and it'll do it. So I agree with you that it's going to help individuals, like tell the machine what to do, and it's going to help them. But
Yeah.
it's going to affect the job market massively, because the AI is going to be doing 95% of the work that a human used to do.
But
Like
if you look at the macro trends throughout history, right? So one of the trend lines is that human beings have evolved have invented tools to be able to help them be more human, we'll say, right? So the tools have graduated into more and more advanced versions of tech, right? So what the tech is allowing humans to do is be more human, right? That's what humans want to do. Like, I want to be more myself. I want to get more, like, the things that interest me. I want less friction in between where I am and what I want to be in the world, right? So a job is really is organizations of people that are all just trying to be more of what humans are. And if AI is allowing people to be more of what they are, I don't understand how things go away. I mean, I know this is really abstract, but I don't understand the going away part.
Going away of
I
what?
just feel like, well, jobs, productivity, like what you do with your day, like when I guess I don't understand, like when people say like, oh, they're going to eliminate jobs, right? It's
They,
like,
they are
okay,
eliminating jobs. The biggest tech companies in the world that
but they're
hire
also
the
creating
smartest
jobs.
people are cutting 30%, 40% of their workforce. Like they're killing those jobs. And those are smart, educated
Yeah.
people. So it is happening. Those jobs are going away.
Right, but yes, I understand. Yeah, and I mean, I see that all the time. And I mean, you know, as an artist, I hear people talking about all the time. It's like, you know, used to be that I created a character, and now AI, now Midjourney is creating a character. So then, why do I need to exist? You know, it. But when you look at like what's holding that up, it's like, well, what do you want to do with your day? You know, like what do you want to do? What do you want to do with your life? Like a job is a subset of what you want to do, right? And so what is a job doing? Like it's bringing you like a financial it's bringing you financial energy, right? So that you can like pay your bills and exist and eat. And um but when you're what the AI seems to be doing is like going like so much deeper than all these categories exist in, that yes, the jobs are going, some set of jobs is going away, but then and I agree with you, like jobs are going away, but then that's being filled in by this whole other thing. It's like a whole other massive shift in like fucking reality
Yeah.
that's coming in. And I'm just looking at this tidal wave of whole categories of concepts that are just like changing. And I'm like, like I'm so overwhelmed with just the like, what is a job? Like what are we doing with
Yeah.
our day? What is it to be human? Like what is it to be real? Because like if all of a sudden AI is getting so powerful that I have to question the thing that I'm looking at before me to be able to be like, what reality am I even in? You know, like what, like I'm just looking at things like way simpler than like a job. And to me, it's like, well, what do I do? What do I do with my day? Like, what do I need to do with my day to be able to, like, a job for most people is like what their day is,
Yeah.
right? Like I engage with my job and then that structures my day, right? But then AI comes and takes away my job. So now the structure of my day is what? Well, AI is also allowing you to restructure your day. Is restructure, you know, how it is that you're going to create a reality and be more yourself, be more human. Like you don't need, you know, you don't need the job to be yourself. You have this like AI assistant
Well,
that's going to help
you
you.
need the job to survive. That financial aspect is like how are you like let's say that I'm a graphic designer and I'm average
Right.
and I
Yeah.
lose my job. I'm not getting enough gigs. I can't pay my rent. I'm homeless. The AI, like it doesn't matter if I have a super intelligent AI that can help me do things if I have no money coming in. And that's what I think that some people are going to adapt, especially young people.
But
But most
right.
people aren't because most people have a highly repetitive job and they just go in and to do their job to get the money. And that job category is now completely blown out. Their skills are blown out. Most of the other jobs they could move to could be automated by AI. So I think we're going to see like 30-40% unemployment in the next few years. And then in 10 years, I think there's going to be another uptick because all the kids from this generation that are, using Neuralink, they're using like 50 different AIs. They'll know how to work with it better to provide unique value in the workforce. But I think for our generation, most people are fucked. They're not going to adapt.
But I think the point of AI is that it allows you to adapt. I guess that's where we're missing each other. It's like, I think like the point of this tool is just to be more yourself. It's like having like a second brain or something, right? Where it's like, okay, so say for example, I'm a graphic designer and I create logos,
Yeah.
right? And then, okay, so now in your frame, that job goes away, right?
Yeah, I saw an
Because
AI
you're like,
tool
what, just have,
there's an AI tool that generates
well,
logos.
okay, so then, me as an artist, I would take that logo, right? I would say, okay, I'm trying to generate a logo. Then AI generates a logo. And then I would say, how can I make that better? Or how can I how can I how can I yeah, man, it's so hard. It's so hard to know like what the value of it's so hard to know what the value of a certain task is. And what the thing that I've been kind of overwhelmed in my thought process is like it's so fundamentally a question of like what is this reality that we're dealing with? Like what is the reality of um this task that needs to get accomplished? Like can you I guess I'm a little bit confused about like what yeah, I don't know. Like what do you think? What do you think about the idea that AI can actually replace the felt human experience of what a human being is bringing to the party?
Yeah, I don't think it can replace human felt experience. I think it will be able to augment it. Like you said, an AI can help you be more yourself because you can be guided by your own sense of interest and meaning and use it as a tool to get further into that. But I think that we're probably outliers because we're highly creative on the artistic end of the spectrum. We like intellectual ideas and we like using these tools to come up with different ideas. But I think for the majority of the population, they just like going to their job and doing the repetitive tasks. And the AI is just going to destroy all of that. Like, so take me, for example, like I'm an expert in demos and storytelling in the tech world. And I've been doing it for 15 years. I think I'm one of the best in the world at it. And I can see a point in the next 2 years where AI is going to be better at building and presenting demos than I am because
Yeah.
it can watch 100,000 demos on YouTube. It's read every story ever written. It knows the connections between those stories. And someone will just be able to go into a tool and have it build a demo and have it tweak it. And sure, I could use that as a tool myself. But for the majority of people out there that are just getting started in this job, who are doing demos and storytelling, it's going to be way better than them. And it's just going to replace them. So I'm like, I consider myself an expert in this realm, and I can already see when AI
And
is
you
going to
think
be
you're
better
going to
than
be
me.
replaced?
Well, I think I'm going to adapt because I'm going to use these tools to be able to
Yeah.
augment my own mind and be able to help tweak it. But it's eventually going to get to a point where it's going to be better than me at the core job that previously existed. But like you said, AI is kind of like blowing out the foundation of what we consider to be a job. Like, what the hell's a job
Yeah.
now? We've got all these jobs in these
Right.
limited domains, and
Right. Right.
and I and the the scary conclusion that I've come to, it's not scary, but it's a tough conclusion that I've come to, is that everyone just needs to work harder and learn faster.
Okay, what does that mean for you? Like, what does it mean to work harder? It's like expend more energy? What
Yeah,
does that mean for
I need
you?
to read more, I need to study more, I need to use more
Okay,
tools, and I need to work faster, because now I'm
right,
competing against
okay,
a hyper intelligent AI that's getting smarter and smarter, and I have to compete against it
right.
for a job. And if I don't work harder and learn faster, it's just
But
gonna
doesn't
take me
it,
out.
I guess the thing that I'm confused about is like the competition assumes that there's a limited amount of resources, right? Because if you're competing, it means that, within a certain frame, there's only a couple of things. And so a lot of people want to get a couple of things. And then once those things are gone, it's gone. And what I'm seeing is that there's not just a couple of things, there's an infinite amount of things. And so how do we reorient the way that we think about the world so that we can just like go through the infinite amount of things?
Yeah, I don't know. I think we've got to see AI as like a human augmentation tool. Um,
Yeah, okay.
and this is why I find like Elon Musk's Neuralink fascinating, because
Okay.
he thinks that the biggest problem with AI is a bandwidth issue, the bandwidth between the human brain and all the AIs, because the
Hmm.
AIs are getting hyper intelligent, but the human brain can only process like 4 bits of information like every second or millisecond. I can't remember what it is, but we've got a very limited brain capacity compared to the AI's computational capacity. And the way that we connect with it now is on a screen, by like slowly tapping the screen.
Hmm.
And Neuralink's going to allow us to just connect that directly with our mind. And I
Hmm.
keep coming back to this idea of, I studied a lot of the history of the evolution of the internet, and there
Yeah.
are a few like huge thinkers, like imaginative thinkers that were at the core of the vision for the internet. There was this one guy,
Okay.
JCR Licklider, and he worked on the original ARPANET. He wrote the paper that evolved into the internet. And the paper was about man-machine symbiosis. So he had
Hmm.
this vision that man and machine should be working in a symbiotic relationship with one another, where they're both benefiting each other and they're both evolving. And I think
Yeah.
we see that to an extent now with like using phones and the internet, even these AI tools. But there's a bandwidth issue, because if the super intelligent AI is getting smarter and smarter and we're not, that symbiosis is going to get out of whack, out of balance. So, uh, if I think about it, the only way to actually keep that symbiosis and that balance is to make human beings more intelligent, and make us faster at learning and faster at thinking and more creative. But I don't think we know how to do that at all.
Well, the thing, the fundamental difference in my mind between AI and humans is, what do we want? Well, the AI doesn't want anything. It's
Yeah.
just running a program,
Yep.
right? And a human being wants whatever it is that a human being wants. I mean, that's the thing that makes life life, is that life wants something. An amoeba wants food. A tulip wants to tilt towards the sun.
Mm.
Um, and what I'm trying to understand is, how does AI allow me to get what I want? And I have to ask myself, okay, well, then what do I really want? Well,
Mm.
on the base level, there's, fire, water, shelter, food. Like those are all like the core components of my reality that I have to get in line. And if those things aren't in line, then I'm scurrying around in survival mindset, just trying to secure my place in the world so that I'm not under threat of of losing my life.
Yep.
And then once I have that in line, now I'm like, okay, I'm in a stable place where I'm going to survive. Now, what is my desire? Like, what is it that I want to do with my life? Like, it seems to take a form of like playing a game, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm on Earth, and I am this consciousness with a perspective, and I'm moving through reality, and there's things that catch my attention and things that I don't care about. the things that catch my attention, I want to go deep into,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
the things that I have interest in, like I want to put energy into that. So I'm pointing my awareness and energy towards a thing. And then as I develop that process, like I'm building things, and that becomes more entrancing, more interesting, and I do that. So where I'm thinking about AI is like, how do I use this as another tool to be able to do what I truly want to do,
Exactly. Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Yeah, so what do you think about that idea?
I totally agree. And I think AI will be an amazing tool at helping us get what we want if we know how to use
Yeah,
it. So I want to be a filmmaker. I want to learn
right,
screenwriting. I want to make specific films in specific genres. If the AI could
right,
understand what I'm aiming at, then it could present me with different ideas. Like, if you tried this, like, you should check out this movie.
right.
Look at this technique for writing. Or I could give it a scene and say, critique it. And it could say, like, you've got to get better in these areas. So I think that AI will be great at helping us get what we want as long as we know what we want. But most people just want survival. Like you said, most people
I
just
don't
want
know that
like fire, shelter, water.
I don't know that I agree with that, because, most people, they go to a job
Yeah.
not because they love the job, but it's because of the incentive structure that the job provides, which
Yeah.
is
The money.
basically money,
Yeah.
right? Money, there's some sort of like status, there's a certain amount of
Yeah.
like skill set, like a position in society, reputation, and all that, but it's basically money, right? So um I don't really think that most people don't like their jobs. They do it because they have to do it, because
Yeah. For sure.
it's not like they want to do it. So I'm trying to like bridge this gap between
Mm.
the job. If you get rid of the job, you still have that fundamental structure of, I want something,
Yeah.
and now I don't have to have a job, a quote unquote job, to be able to do it. I can have AI help me get the thing that I want
But how are you going to
directly.
get money?
Well, you have to provide value, right? So
Yeah.
value is a relationship, right? So now I'm dealing with like, okay, I have a certain amount of energy, you have a certain amount of energy, and we're exchanging energy, and we call that value, a value exchange. Like, this is worth my time, this is worth my effort. And so what it is that we do is, we I find something that I'm interested in that has a lot of value to me, because that puts my body in action. And as I do that, I'm going to find other people that also are attracted to that same sort of value. Then I'm going to find them, and then we are going to
Yeah.
do something that has a certain amount of value. And then they're going to interact with other we's that are also doing something that has value. And then, we're going to, and okay, so then you
Yeah.
could say that, well, that's what a job is. You go to a company is like just this organism that provides a certain set of values, that alleviates pain points for other people. And that's what a job is. But um I just see AI reducing the abstraction in some ways. So now it's like, now I don't have to go to a job to be able to get what I want. I can use AI to have a more direct path to
Yeah.
that,
Yeah. I agree. And that's where I get a bit more optimistic about AI, because
okay.
I think that the best goal is to have everyone participating in the workforce. Like, and I think that's good
Yeah.
for society. Like, if we got 10%, 20% unemployment, those people are going to riot and go insane. But I
Hmm.
think that if individuals have the ability to follow their unique sense of meaning and interest as far as they can, they'll be able to find some unique thing that's going to be of value to others. But the problem is that our whole workforce and education structure hasn't been built on someone following their sense of interest and meaning very much. It's been like
Yeah.
specific domains, like the doctor, the architect, the accountant.
Hmm.
And now all those categories have been blown out. So in a way,
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
that's a
Yeah.
good thing, because now an
Right.
individual, like I imagine some like 10-year-old out there who's just like using AI to follow their sense of interest. They're like, I'm interested in this topic. I'm going to explore that a little bit. No, that's not quite what I'm interested in. Now I'm going to go in this direction. And now I'm interested in this topic, and I'm going to combine those two things. And I think they're going to be able to find a way of coming up with some sort of unique value that will be useful in the workforce. But most of us have been conditioned to not approach work that way. We've been approached to say, like, all right, learn one of the subcategories of the main categories and just focus on that for your whole life. And then you're not really following your sense of interest. You're just like doing that repetitive pattern over and over again. So I think that we have a fundamental shift in the way that people approach work, and they have to take on the responsibility of finding what they're interested in and deeply following it. And if we do that, I think we can get to a point where everyone can participate in the workforce and provide some sort of unique value. But I think there's going to be this painful period over the next 15 years where our generation and the generation before us is just not going to be able to adapt. Like, this stuff's just too advanced, too new. They're used to their repetitive job. So I think we're going to see huge unemployment for the next 15 years, and then it's going to come back up again. So I'm like deeply pessimistic in the next 10, 15 years, but I'm optimistic after that.
I can see that. Well, and what's really wild is, I mean, obviously, like I'm in San Francisco, so I mean, it's like ground zero for all this stuff. But most people that you talk to just have no idea that this is even on the radar, that this is even coming. That the disruption is even coming. But a lot of it too is like, a lot of it is just kind of allowing humanity to go into cruise control. It's like, my girlfriend has a Tesla, right? So you look at like how cars are evolving, and you drive a Tesla, and it's getting to the point now where you can just go you exit a restaurant, go on your phone, you hit summons, the car backs out of the parking spot, comes around, picks you up, you get in the car, you can hit self-driving home, and then you can just, right? I mean, now that's going to be happening with like food production, all this kind of stuff. So then we're going to be able to just have everything that we need to survive. And now once like survival as a need is off the table, now all of our evolutionary adaptations to our environment just become null and void. Now we have all these like adaptations to an environment that no longer exists anymore. Then what do we do with that? It comes down to this like desire structure of like, what do I want? Agree. Like, what do I want to do with my day? Because it's like, I can just, everything is provided for me because like the food is just there. I don't have to worry about the weather. The Mongol hordes are knocking down my door. Like I can, so it just is like, we go into this it's a fundamentally different frame of desire than we've ever had before. And that's what's been so overwhelming to me as I'm like coming into this new reality. I'm like, all these new categories just dissolve. And like, how do you even like talk about this stuff anymore? Because we're just different now. Like human beings we just like evolved into something new.
And
it like happened like this year.
And it's this wide open space with infinite possibility, which is amazing. And like you said, it's a desire structure, because I think historically most people haven't really followed what they wanted to do or even known what they wanted to do. They've just been,
we're not allowed to do that, or they're under like like when I look at Irina, who grew up in the Soviet Union, she didn't even have hot water until she was 13 years old. She had like one pair of jeans that she wore all throughout high school, and managed to, get out of the Soviet Union, come over here and become, hyper successful. But she wasn't allowed to desire. It was
Exactly.
she,
Exactly.
dude. She told me about this phrase that they have in Ukraine. She, and she was like, "Oh, it's so brutal. I don't even want to tell you." And I'm like, "What? What are you talking about?" And she's like, "Oh yeah, it's just this phrase. You know, you hear about it when you're very young. Um, you hear about it when you're a child." And I'm like, "Okay, you have to tell me. Like, what is this thing?" She says, "Well, translated, it means like, if you're being raped, you might as well relax and enjoy it." Like, this is the fucking dude. This is like growing up in the Soviet Union. Like, did I tell you that um, her, her father's brother was literally crucified,
Damn.
like in the 40s. In the 40s, like when my grandfather was fighting in the Pacific, in World War II, in Ukraine, because he spoke out against the government or whatever, he was literally put up on a hill and literally crucified, not figuratively, literally crucified, right? In the 40s, right? So there's a whole, like, you're not even, so these are people that grew up in a part of the world in a time in history that weren't even allowed to desire.
Exactly. Yeah. And
It's
we,
not
we
even
look.
about what
Yeah.
do I want. It's you will do this or you're going to be crucified.
And that's most of human history until
Yeah.
recently.
Yeah.
Like if you think back to ancient times, it was only the king that was sovereign. The king could
Yeah.
do what he wanted and figure out what he desired, but everyone else underneath him had they got told what to do. They could maybe have a little bit of
Yeah.
desire here and there. And that's when you
Hmm.
over time we've kind of like just we've taken that sovereignty and realized everyone should have that sovereignty. And then at the start of America, we realized like that's where the idea of the American dream comes in. Is it's not
Yeah.
the like individual desire. It's like you can follow your own individual desires and wants. Um,
Right.
that's a huge responsibility, and a lot of people don't want to take that on. And our ability to follow our desires has always been limited because we've been restricted by this tyrannical structure on top, and we still kind of are.
Because the environmental forces have been so overwhelming that it's been suffocating to even like step outside of your door every day,
Yeah,
and now all of that is gone. Now it's just like, what do I want to do? Do I want to go to a coffee shop and get a $6 latte? Or do I want to play video games all day? Or do I want to, like, now all of a sudden it's just like, it's so hard to even conceive the world that we're living in now. It's fundamentally different. And
yeah, yeah,
now with cybernetics and now all this like transgendering and the humanity that is going to be going to Mars and all, as soon as like human beings are born outside of the gravity well of Earth, we're literally going to become a different species. So it's like human beings have just become a different species, like, and it
yeah,
just happened right now.
yeah. And we're kind of cyborgs now already. Since we've had
Yeah.
like mobile phones and the internet, now with AI, we're
Hmm.
cyborgs. So, and who knows what effect that's having on our brains and evolution. Like evolution usually happens over a long period of time, and even the people who go to Mars, like it might be for the first 3 or 4 generations, we don't even notice any difference in their species and ours, but gradually we're going to notice that
I
we're
I
changing.
think I think we're going to start to fetishize order because there's
Hmm.
so much chaos in the world,
Maybe
and
that's
that people can
already
have.
happening now. Maybe
Yeah,
that's
I
what's
think
been
so. I
happening
think,
over the last 5 years. Like I've seen the far left fetishizing order, tyrannical order,
yeah.
which is the opposite of
Hmm.
what the left usually does.
Right. Right.
Hmm.
Well, and when that goes deeper, they're going to look at, because it's so terrifying to be floating out in the infinite possibilities of whatever it is that, the infinite possibilities, that you're going to want to anchor yourself in something real. So then what are you going to, and when you search your mind to ask yourself what's real, you're going to go back into the biological history of human civilization as it's grounded in the history of what is known. And so you're going to go into these deep theological structures
Yeah,
of like Hinduism, Buddhism, Christianity, and then all within that is this archetypal form that is going to hang in there. It's like this anchoring point. It's like this buoy, where the infinite possibilities stretch out forever. But there's this one experience that even if we don't agree on it now, in the past, people had agreed on it, and people are going to rush to go back there just to find some sort of
I agree.
foothold rather than being like just washed away in
Yeah.
the infinitude of possibility.
Yeah, and that reminds me of Nietzsche and his whole
Yeah.
Superman idea, because he was saying that we've kind of got so advanced as a species, and individuals can pursue their sense of meaning in any way that they want, that you can just create your own values. So if we're in this new
Right.
AI world where there's infinite possibility, then one way of looking at it, how to approach that is, well, I can do anything now. I'm just going to create my own values. And I think we're seeing that on the far left as well.
Yeah.
But like you said, I think that we're going to be searching for that central anchor point, and I think we're going to go back to the old religions and those oldest ideas, because I think that is the anchor point. Like, I don't think that we're going to find some new anchor point in AI without it being an ideology. I think the oldest religious stories, and religious rituals and cultures are going to be what we go back into in a way.
And if those are the most substantive structures that we have to reference, we're going to be building AI off of those structures. So the old thing is going to become the model for the new thing that we're going to be building. So we're going
Yeah,
to build the God of the future out of the God of the past.
yeah,
And so
yeah,
and then that kind of takes the form of this like alpha and omega archetypal pattern that Christ embodies, right?
yeah,
Because
yep,
this Christian idea or the symbol or the image of God represented to humans takes this Christ form, which is at the beginning of time and at the end of time. So
yeah,
it's like the hourglass that comes in and out,
yeah.
you know?
I saw something interesting. Jordan Peterson said that he's been using ChatGPT a lot, and he asked it to write a 13th rule for his book 12 Rules for Life.
Oh wow. Yeah. What did it
But
say?
he specifically asked it to write it in the style of the King James Bible and the Tao Te Ching.
Oh wow. Together.
Yes, and he
Wow.
said he was so blown away by what it came up with that
What did it come up with?
he couldn't tell that he hadn't written it.
I'm this is
I
all
don't think
news to
I
me.
don't think he's shared it.
Oh, he hasn't shared it. Wow. Yeah,
But
probably a wise
we can
move.
ask it the same thing though. But that's a great example where he's asking the AI to take his own work and his own ideas and
Yeah.
come up with something new, and take like a deep Western religious text and an Eastern religious text and put them together and synthesize something new. And he found it deeply meaningful and couldn't tell that he hadn't written it. That's just mind blowing to me. So I think we're also going to see a synthesis of these different religious ideas from the East and the West, from Islam and Christianity, Hinduism, Buddhism, because the AI is trained on a data set across all of those and can find patterns between them. So it's even going to blow out all of our religious categories in a way.
What do you mean? Can you talk more about that? What do you mean blow out all of our religious categories?
Well, like one religious category you can think about is Eastern religion and Western religion. That are
Oh, like synthesize them.
yeah, exactly.
Oh, so the boundary in between what makes them different becomes permeable.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. So it becomes like a true like universalism.
Yeah, and there's danger in that,
Okay.
because it could make a synthesis
Hmm.
that isn't quite true, that becomes kind of an ideology. And an ideology is like it's like a crippled religion, Jordan Peterson says. It's got a religious substructure, but it's missing some of the pieces. And that's the risk with AI, but it could also allow us to have an understanding of religion that goes across religions in a way. And that could stop a lot of the fighting between religions when there's so much crossover between them. But I
But
don't
doesn't it
necessarily think
also
it's this like synthesis of a new religion, and I think that's a dangerous idea. But it's like resurrecting the oldest religious ideas, and like synthesizing them together.
Well, I mean, isn't it Jung that said, we can never know God, but we can know the image of God?
Yeah, we can know the
And
image of
so,
God within the self.
right. And so it's like, okay, to a Westerner, there's an image of God. And, to somebody born in India, there's an image of God. Somebody born in, Japan or China, there's an image of God. And, it's oftentimes like framed as like different facets of a diamond, right? Like you're looking in at
Hmm.
these different angles, right? And and if you have AI that's kind of synthesizing all of these, it seems like it's creating a framework so that you can see all the different parts of the diamond. And
Yeah,
so you're
yeah,
you're you're still, it's not like creating something new. It's just revealing what's already there.
yeah. I've heard that described as like
Okay.
religions are like windows looking into the same house.
Yeah,
And
okay.
AI is
Yeah.
going to be able to build houses of all those windows that we haven't conceived of before.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really interesting. And then, right. It seems like that's going to be a good thing, though. It seems like it seems the inevitability is that it's all going to merge. It's going to really bring the planet together. It's like this kind of like the Gaia hypothesis of like the planet is one giant organism.
Hmm,
Because, before too long, like we're going to be able to talk to Chinese people or, you know,
hmm. Yeah,
indigenous people because we're just going to be speaking like this, but I'll be speaking my native language, you'll be speaking your native language, but we're going to be able to hear each other because this translator, the AI will be able to translate. And then we're just going to be able to talk to people from all over the place,
yeah. It's a huge
you know?
opportunity to bring us together and
Right.
connect across those boundaries, but it's also going to divide us as well. And we're going to, like, I think we're right now, we're so trapped in our individual cultures. Like, I'm an Australian, I'm an American, I'm a Dutchman, I'm a Chinese man, and you're kind of
Yeah.
in that culture. But now all the boundaries around that culture are going to dissolve if everyone can just talk to each other in any language. Um, if AI
But
is
but
finding patterns between the cultures, so it's
but
going
we
to
still
divide
have
us
our
and connect us.
but we still have our fundamental desire structure, which is like, I'm born in America, so I like hamburgers, right? And, a Japanese person likes ramen. And so even if we're together
Yeah.
and we're able to communicate, they're fundamentally going to be drawn to what their region, the it's like a nature versus nurture thing. It's
Mm.
like their nature is still going to dictate what it is that they want fundamentally. And through learned behavior, you can connect and adapt and synthesize and grow into a different desire structure. But your fundamental desire structure was molded by your mother and father and nation.
Mm.
And so you're still going to have distinctions, but
Yeah.
then what's going to happen now is that we're going to have human beings that are going to be out in space or on Mars and the moon. And then now we're going to have a different other. And so then,
Mm.
like, just being,
Yeah.
it's not going to be an American, it's going to be a terrestrial, an
Yeah.
earthling,
Yeah.
you know. So it's like in the same way that you go to like high school and you meet people from different parts of the city and different neighborhoods and they have or different economic structures, like they're fundamentally different, but they're all coming together as like one kind of community, but they're all, so there's similarities and differences within that structure. But now that we're going to have this othering, which is like the people on Mars, like they're going to be fundamentally a different species.
Yeah.
So that's going to shift the frame of who it
What
is that
makes
I
you think
believe.
that though? Because you've said this a few times. Do you think that our DNA is going to start mutating as soon as we're in space?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
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 I think it has to do with gravity. I think the way that just the blood moves and that tissues are formed and the we are adapted to our environment, right? So if your environment is space and you have no gravity, well, what's the use of you know, being able to like hold your body up with the skeletal structure that your consciousness is born into, you know, you're just going to become something different. So then
Yeah.
maybe like
Yep.
human beings out there, like maybe their lower bodies atrophy, right? But then fingers become way more important, so they get like narrower and more pointy, so that they become more you know,
Hmm.
dexterous, you know. And like maybe the eyes get bigger because you're it's all about perception and noticing nuance, and you know, because now the world of the micro is more important, because you know you're an inside person, you're never going outside again, so now everything in your environment is way more important. So rather than being on earth where the vastness is what you need to be adapted to, now you're adapted to smallness, you know, and like you're
Yeah.
adapted to like circuitry and like inside of, you know, your spacesuit and your spaceship and your colony on Mars, you know. So you're just going to become a different thing, and
Yeah.
it's going to happen fast, and you're going to have tech involved, you're going to have Neuralink, you're going to have all of that. But the thing that makes everything the same is the desire structure, right? So
Yeah.
the thing that makes an amoeba and a human similar is we both want, like just
Yeah.
want, not what we want, but we just want,
Yeah.
right? And so then the want is based on energy, like where we're getting energy. Like an amoeba gets energy from eating food that fuels its, you know, its
Yeah.
biology, its physiology, you know.
And what's
So
interesting
so
here
it's
from a Jungian
yeah,
perspective is that you don't choose what you want in a way.
yeah, okay.
Like you don't
Yeah,
choose.
you're born into what you want.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
like Jung's idea that you don't have ideas, ideas have you. It's the same as
right,
desires. Like you could say, like I could
right.
say this is my desire, but like how did it get into me? And Jung says that your sense of interest and your sense of meaning that guides you to your desires is kind of your destiny that's in you. So,
Well, and
so it's like we have to,
like
yeah, I don't know. I feel like
we
we're
think
like
it's
even
like,
to
well,
understand what you want, it's not even just about individual freedom. It's about like going back to the old religious ideas and like deep into the recesses of the psyche where these ideas are coming from. Because it's not just about
yeah.
pure individual freedom like a Nietzschean Superman. It's about like
Well,
digging into your
freedom is always constrained, you know, like the freedom
freedom isn't
comes from
free.
constraint. Because, you know, I was at an art show last night, and I was talking to somebody, and you know, we were talking about the tyranny of possibility, right? You have a blank canvas and then a palette of colors, right? And you're sitting there going like, I could do whatever I want, and you're just like,
Yeah.
fuck, what do I do? You
Yeah.
know, you have no idea. But then when you have a rule structure, like this is what I do, you know, I'm like, okay, I'm only going to use black and white and triangles. Now, what can I do? Well, the first thing I do is I make a triangle. And then, you know, that triangle means like, okay, well, now I'll put a triangle over here. Now I'll put a triangle, you know, and then you build and that constraint
Yeah.
allows freedom,
Yeah.
because
And
now I
you
can
don't have
move.
creativity without constraint.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's just infinite
Hmm.
possibility. And now that we're in this time now where we've got AI and all these tools and infinite possibility, the challenge is going to be individuals figuring out how to put constraint on that system, because typically the constraint that's put on us is kind of like a tyrannical
Environmental
constraint by
survival.
culture,
Yeah.
and now that's going to disappear. There's infinite possibility, but it means that you have to figure out what constraints you're going to put on yourself and that system to create something. And I think for most of human history, individuals haven't had that deep responsibility to figure that out.
Right, because it's just been like the lord of the kingship, the territory that you're in, in the feudal structures, it's like there's a local lord that rules over this territory, and then you produce wheat, you produce cows, you produce
Yeah,
butter, or whatever
exactly.
it is, and then you're just told what to do.
Yeah,
And there's certain freedom in that, you know, because you're
it's
like
still a constraint.
you're
So
constrained.
yeah,
Yeah. God, it's wild. So now, yeah, so that's the issue that I'm trying to understand with this whole like losing jobs part. You know, it's like the job itself is a constraint that actually allows freedom, because your day is structured. So going back to our original point is like, well, what do you do with your day? You know,
yeah,
a lot of people like to think that they're self-motivated to be like, well, I want to decide what I do with the day. But then as soon as they're in that position, they're just like lost because it's
Yeah.
actually really hard. It's really hard to self-motivate.
Yes.
And you just end up being fed stimulation. So then you just end up endlessly scrolling or watching Netflix or whatever because there's enough stimulation to keep you engaged. But you're not doing anything. So now you're becoming like passive. So I think I mean, I think the Matrix just nailed it, dude. I think we're just creating the Matrix, and some people
Yeah.
are gonna choose the Matrix, and then
Yeah.
that's gonna be another fork in the human evolutions. There's people that are just gonna decide to be Matrix people,
Yep.
just live in the virtual. And then there's other people that are going to become superhuman
Yeah.
because they're going to learn about like exercise and supplements and nutrition and achieving their goals and just being like the fucking like basically super intelligent Spartans.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, it's just going to go in every direction.
And I think we're going to see that from the job front as well. That
yeah,
we'll see mass unemployment. The government is going to have to step in and give people universal basic income. And I think they're already prepping for that. I think that's a lot of the chaos in the government over the last few years. I think is because they know that this is coming. They're already talking about a robot tax where they're going to tax any robotic or automation use, and they're going to have to give people a universal basic income. And a lot of those people will just be in the Matrix. They're going to be in their little simulation world.
Yeah, just clicking, just clicking through their life.
Yeah,
just clicking through their life.
Exactly. But there'll be others that reject that and use this AI to become superhuman, and they'll be able to create more value and live such a free life that it's going to be insane, the absolute opposite of that Matrix. So we're going to see both of those at once.
And again, it comes down to the fundamental desire structure, what you want. Like some people are going to choose to be in the Matrix.
Yeah.
You know, and some people are going to choose to be free. But the problem, you know, throughout history has been there's been this authoritarian force that's lorded over your whatever particular geographic area that you're in, and you don't have a desire. It doesn't matter what you want.
Exactly.
You are doing this or we're going to fucking kill you. You know? And then now that just isn't really there that much. Like people think that it's there, but it's not. And they think like now the oppression is other people have too much privilege over other people. You know what I mean? Like they have too much freedom. Like they're trying to make like freedom into an oppressive force. Like the whole thing's just like breaking down because, you know, at the end of the day, it's like nobody is telling you what to do.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, it's like the last
they like to be told what to do. Like I just thought about slavery. When slavery ended, a lot of the slaves chose to stay with their masters and keep working for them.
Yeah.
Because that was a constraint they could work around, and they had enough freedom within that constraint that they're like, no, I don't want to go out and figure out what I desire in the world. That's too much responsibility.
Well, and they're also not equipped for it.
Yeah.
You see the same thing with prisoners. You know, prisoners that, you know, have been in prison for 30 years and they get out and they're just like fucking lost, you know?
And that's what I think is going to be the challenge with AI is that we're
prisoners. We're all getting out of prison.
Exactly. We've all been prisoners forever because of the tyrannical structure of culture. Most people don't want like true freedom.
Yes, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
So much suffering and responsibility and pain and confusion. Most people would choose to be in some sort of prison. And now that we're all let free, we can like go after anything we desire.
That's what AI is, dude. You've nailed it. You nailed it. I think it's AI is the key that unlocks us from prison because now nobody is telling us what to do. Yeah, this is what's been so difficult to try to understand. Like what I was wrestling with earlier and couldn't understand is like what even is a job. It's a constraint that you find meaning in that actually structures your life, and it gives form to, you know, it creates a finite place of like stability out of the infinite possibilities. And then now AI has just said, go be free. Yeah. And we're like, fuck.
And a
Now
lot of
I actually
people,
have everything that I
yeah,
want. It's
yep.
unbelievable.
A lot of people like the AI is gonna unlock their cell door of their prison, and they're just gonna close the
Yeah,
door again and lock it themselves.
right.
Like they're gonna be like, I don't.
Wow, that's right.
That freedom is too bright a light for me to walk towards. I'd rather stay in my little cell, which has a little bit of light, but it's mainly dark because it's too much responsibility. And I think we're going to see so much confusion because of that. Because
Wow.
for human history, we've always been constrained by our culture and nature so much that freedom is
Yeah.
always like a thing we could like get at here and there, a little bit of extra freedom. And it always came through pain and suffering. But now we've got like an enormous amount of freedom and I think the path forward is to step into that fully and follow your sense of meaning,
Well,
figure out what you desire and get after it.
well, and I think that the real currency is fun. Like, what is fun? It's like, people are gonna do what's
Play.
fun.
Yeah.
Play. Exactly. Like when you look at children, that are 3, 4, 5 years old, and they're just in that unmitigated joy of just being let loose in the world and running around and being fascinated with rocks, fascinated with the color blue and just like
Yeah.
playing and just like that's all inside of us. And that's what AI is actually allowing us to get back to. So I think at the height of what it is that could possibly come our way is a return to innocence and joy
Yeah. And it's
and
funny, like
playfulness.
Carl Jung says this that the process of individuation is a process of rediscovering the child within and rediscovering the capacity
Yeah.
to play. So
Hmm.
yeah, I think because there's infinite possibilities, if we can bring out that childhood spirit and play with it, we can build so many things off of it.
Yeah, and I think, yeah, but to your point earlier is that there's going to be this brutal culling of old values and
Yes.
and old structures, and people are just going to be like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it's gonna be
And a
brutal.
lot of people are not going to do well. But
Yeah.
I think on the other side of it, we're going I think we really will come into like more of like a childlike reverie and exuberance for the world, because our natural state is to be joyful and alive and enthusiastic and having fun. That's why we all like to party, like the whole
Yeah.
thing could just be a party.
Yeah.
Like, like it could just be a good time if we could, because we don't have these oppressive forces that are like bearing down on us anymore. We're creating the forces that we're oppressed by. We create our own oppression,
Yeah.
when we could just like be having a good time. I mean, I do it all the time inside of my own life. Just
Yeah.
because of the way that I'm wired. And then every once in a while you get a glimpse out of it and you wake up and you're like, what am I doing? Like I have everything is incredible, but I'm just like slave driving myself to produce harder and work harder and do all of this shit. And it's like, it really can. We are in the first time in history where it can really truly just be fun.
Hmm.
And that's the promise of technology and the promise of, what AI could give us.
Yeah.
Really.
Yep. I agree,
Hmm.
mate. I
Maybe
think
that'd be
that,
a good place to wrap.
yeah, I think so, mate. Yeah. The future is going to
Yeah.
be potential for extreme fun and extreme freedom, but in the
Yeah.
short term, it's not going to be fun for a lot of people.
It's going to be a lot of wandering in the desert.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. 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 Okay. Yeah. That was cool. That was interesting. That was interesting to end up there.
Yeah. Yeah. Great conversation, mate.
Cool. All right, man. Well, I'll see you on the other side.
All right. See you, mate.
All right.